Welcome to Veterans News. I'm Dave Culmer with my special guest, Rick Seaman. Segment 12 of Veterans News continues with service officers.
Hello again, Dave.
Hi, Rick. How are you?
Good. What's our email there?
Our email is from Altoona, Pennsylvania. And a veteran wants to know when service officers were first established, obviously for use by veterans and the significant others of veterans.
Wow.
The answer is 1919 in Wisconsin with the American Legion. When the American Legion was established, that was 1919, and at the same time incorporated with the establishing of the American Legion were service officers. So hopefully that will answer your question.
1919.
1919.
Right at the
Right.
end of World War One.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow. It goes back that far.
Right.
And it started with the American Legion.
Exactly.
Good job, Legion. All right.
Right.
So, speaking of Legion and service organizations, how does the process start? I'm a vet, recently discharged. I'm thinking of joining a service organization and or acquiring the assistance of a service officer. What's step one?
Well, normally you would almost invariably have a claim that you want processed through the Veterans Administration system.
Right.
And with that, you want some assistance. You want an advocate.
Would I also be looking for an advocate just to help me through the process of educational benefits?
You could use one, but it's fairly basic.
Yeah, is that something that veterans normally take care of themselves?
Yes, they normally take care of them themselves. They have the time element, and if they're in the time zone and that window of time,
right,
they know pretty much what kind of educational program they want to take, and they proceed and do the necessary paperwork.
And just make their contact directly with the
Sure.
VA.
Exactly.
And would that also apply with like VA loans, home loans?
Yes, same thing.
So the service officer is really there for claims and being your advocate to work your way through the claim process.
Your claim through the Department of Veterans Affairs system.
Okay.
To answer your question, the first thing that would happen is a Form 2122, which is a power of attorney form. And when I say power of attorney, don't get nervous, Rick. It only pertains to your Veterans Administration file and claim. Only. Has nothing to do with any other element of your life.
Okay.
Specifically and only to your VA file.
So it's a power of attorney for your service officer.
Correct.
To represent you.
To represent you. And the representation includes literally or physically being able to go to the Department of Veterans Affairs and physically pulling your file if necessary to further the claim through adjudication.
Gotcha.
And while I'm at it, the county service officers have the same form they use to award a power of attorney to a county service office.
Okay, so county or veterans organization, you're going to go through the power of attorney process.
Right.
Good.
It's the same.
Well, now we talked about service officers, good ones, bad ones, like mechanics. Mm-hmm. It's a good analogy you made there. Once you've acquired a service officer or advocate, if you're not happy with what's going on with his performance, can you jump ship, so to speak, and change? And
I'll answer that question, Rick, as soon as we take a break from segment 12 of Veterans News and we come back. Stick around. So, Rick, to answer your question, a veteran cannot change service officers if he has a claim pending with the Department of Veterans Affairs. In other words, he applied for benefits. The case has not been concluded.
So that's a VA
claim.
But that's a VA law.
That's correct.
VA rule.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, does that mean he can't have two service officers at the same time?
Correct. You cannot.
Now,
You cannot.
but can he get rid of one and start over with another one?
When the current claim has ended,
Oh, okay.
whether benefits have been awarded or denied, if the claim has ended,
Right.
he can then change service officers.
So that tells me, since I probably wouldn't be there with the service officer in the first place if I didn't have a claim,
Right.
then the answer is you got to stay with him until that claim
That is correct. Right.
resolved, closed, denied, or whatever, right?
What? Yes.
What if they deny it? Then can you say,
Well-
wait a minute, I want to start over?
Well, let me give you an out, Rick,
Okay.
and our veteran viewers an out. If the service officer is not doing his job or her job, you may directly take information in the case where the VA needs or requests information, or you feel information would be helpful. You can hand carry that or mail it directly to the Department of Veterans Affairs yourself. So you're not totally helpless if your service officer isn't doing the job you feel that they should.
So you're doing an end run on your service officer.
You're doing an end run on your service officer, so you're not totally powerless.
But the VA will not let you get another service officer until that
Case has ended, completed, finished, over, done.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Right.
What do you think about that? Is that
Well, it's not a bad idea because I get so many guys that come to the office and they say they have XYZ service organization and his service officer won't return his calls. He won't get in touch with him. He won't give him any information, or she won't give him any information, meaning the veteran is saying this, and that they want to join my service organization. And of course, while they have a claim pending, they cannot do that. And I inform them of that.
Right.
And I give them whatever information based on their specific set of rules and guidelines for their case as to what to do to further their claim through the VA system, in spite of the fact that they don't feel they're getting the best service possible.
so? You can candidly give them advice.
Yeah, yeah.
But they still have to stick with their guy.
That is correct.
Right.
That's correct. Yeah,
So that is what it is.
that is what it is.
Okay. Now, I've read recently that some veterans have actually gone beyond a service officer and actually retained or hired an attorney, a real, actual legal attorney,
I've heard the same
to
thing
negotiate
frequently.
with the VA. Is that
I personally, and maybe this isn't necessarily the correct opinion or decision, but I personally never felt it was a good idea because of the financial outlay. The basic elements for the Department of Veterans Affairs to award compensation benefits is that establishing the injury occurred in the service, number one. And number two, the degree of severity for that condition as it exists today. Today can be 6 months later, 30 years later, it doesn't matter. But they must see the condition existed in the service, usually borne out by treatment records, and two, the condition of the injury, accident, or illness today. And with that, Rick, we'll take a break and we'll come right back. Thanks for sticking around to Veterans Network. And Rick, I've got more for you.
do you really?
Yes, a veteran can file more than one claim, at different times.
Or at the same time?
At the same time, of course, many veterans will apply for 3 or 4 different disabilities on the same original application. But if in 3 months or 6 months or a year later or whatever, you find you have another new disability for whatever reason may have escaped you, you can apply for that condition also. It simply requires a second sheet of paper, not a whole 8-page application.
Okay.
And on that document, the paper to the VA, you simply say, I would additionally like to be service connected for my left knee condition. And you provide the basic information as to where the injury occurred and like that.
And of course, I'm going to ask you, does that all have to be with the same service officer?
It certainly does.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes, it certainly. Let's just play devil's advocate for a minute. And let's say a guy who is not happy with his current service officer goes to a different service organization, files a second power of attorney with a new, different service organization.
For an additional claim.
Right.
Okay.
Number one, a whole new application will go to the VA, which is really redundant because all of the information is going to be established on the first initial application.
Okay.
And the second power of attorney will be null and void because there is a claim pending.
Right.
So it'll be filed down, what they call filed down in the veteran's file. The first one will be used, and the second one will be negated because there is a current power of attorney in his file and currently being used, and the case is pending.
Okay. So if you've got a service officer that's not making you happy,
Mm-hmm.
and you do file the second claim or the third claim, I guess the chances are slim to none that he's even going to say, "Oh, by the way, don't get another service officer. You're just going to be,
Well, I think
as they say, beating a dead horse, or doing something up a rope, as they say,
Yeah, I mean, I think all service officers certainly know, and if the issue comes up for changing service officers prior to the completion of a claim, you're informed by whatever service organization you have or that you go to that you cannot until that claim is completed.
So, I mean, a vet he's got to do some homework.
Yes, you do.
He's got to do some homework.
That's really the big ticket, is for guys to do the research, do the homework. As I said earlier, an awful lot of material is on the computer and where to go to get what you need. So It's not as if these guys are powerless to further their claim through the VA process.
Right.
And picture this. Picture yourself as an insurance broker. You get a phone call, and a person who is insured by you says, send me $8,000. I just totaled my Mercedes. You as an insurance company, are you going to send this guy a check? Or are you going to want to look at the car?
Right.
Okay, you're going to want to see the car.
Right.
So when a claim is filed, the two elements that we talked about before must be present. The condition existed during military service and the extent or severity of the condition today, regardless to when today is.
All right. I understand. I get it.
Good.
And it's dicey.
It's
dicey.
relatively simple.
But you got to stay on your toes.
You do. You really need to stay on your toes.
Which service organization would I go to? I just came back from Iraq, Afghanistan. I know the advantages of having an advocate. Do you have a top five, or what? Where do you sit on that?
I've been asked that question many times, and I have no idea as to who I would refer a veteran to, including myself.
Right.
It's the same as the old days when you walked on a used car lot. If you're
The
lucky.
old used car lot. Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
And so that's what it boils down to.
Right. One other question.
Sure.
You mentioned claims and filing claims years after being discharged from the service.
Sure.
What do you think's happening today with, does it say a Vietnam or Korean vet that files a claim for a disability service connection 40 years later, 50 years later perhaps? How does he play against all these Iraq and Afghanistan vets coming back? I mean, how's the VA playing those cards?
It's kind of a loaded question, and I'm glad, because Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans clearly have their claims processed faster than other veterans. And I'm glad of that, because I'm glad it's not taking the 6, the 8, the 10, the 12 months it took us coming back from Vietnam to have a claim processed. There clearly, I've seen claims completed within a 2-month period of time from start to finish with Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans, and I'm really, really pleased and I'm happy that this is happening.
Good.
And so they get expeditious handling, although it's never been stated to my knowledge, but they do in fact get expeditious handling of their claims, and I'm glad. I really am.
And would you care to throw out a percentage there of those that get taken care of in a timely fashion? What percentage of those do you think did it through a service officer?
You know, I wouldn't. I really only would have a wild guess.
Let's hear it.
Half.
Half.
That's a wild guess.
Half is a wild guess.
Yeah.
That's good. That's where I'd put a wild guess, about halfway. You know?
Okay. Well, I'm not going to guess anymore because we're going to end, Rick.
Okay.
It's really been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
I don't mind coming back for round 3 either.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks.
There you go.
Dave Culmer, Veterans Network. Thanks for joining us. Out.